Kyle Gruninger of Incura. How's it going, man?
I am the best. How are you doing, Jay?
Doing really well, doing really well. How have things been for you in quarantine so far?
Honestly, things have been okay. I playing lots of music, writing lots, spending time with family from a distance. So it's actually been okay. I was lucky to do a lot of touring and playing last year, so I'm feeling all right.
So when you were growing up, what were some of your go-to bands?
I My first band I really got into that I went to the store to buy the CD every Friday with my allowance was Nirvana. Uh, I spent $20 getting Nirvana CDs every Friday until I had them all. When I hit about 14, I started getting more into Korn and Slipknot, things like that, which led me more into Slayer, Deicide, and that kind of stuff. So that's kind of where the transition went through.
What was your main musical influence that, kind of inspired you to learn vocals?
I was fortunate when I was about 5 years old to go to the Phantom of the Opera. Seeing that at such a young age, and I was in a very, very vulnerable place at that age. I had someone just pass away. The lead character was the same name as that person who passed away. I had some kind of cerebral connection to it, and I wanted to sing ever since.
Where did the title Incura come from?
Whew. So we used to be called In Vain back in the day. We actually have an old EP, the In Vain EP, A Way Out. We always talk about it. But when that name was taken by 1,000 other bands, we also are huge Final Fantasy fans. So Gatlin, our guitar player, took the potion Cura, which is a cool potion Final Fantasy brings together. It's healing, and our old name In Vain, and we put them together, called it Incura.
So you guys were featured pretty heavily in the 2009 Grindhouse film Dead Hook in a Trunk, being the opening band and the opening scene,
That's
and
right.
a major part of the soundtrack. What was it like being on the set of that, and did the release of the film bring you a whole new audience of fans?
That was a whole crazy experience, honestly. Uh, Jen and Sylvia, I met them and we were kind of just friends. We all just kind of hung out. They haven't really made a lot of movies before that. And we spent a lot of time together. We went to California to film. We drove all over. In doing that, we had no idea what the movie was going to do. When they asked the band to kind of just be in it and hang out and do the thing, we had no idea. And it did really well. Those girls are so talented. We were just excited to be a part of it. It did bring us a new audience, of course. I went to the premiere with Jen and stuff, and we got to see everything. And I met so many great people. And from there, of course, their careers have taken off, and they've done a lot of great stuff. So, yeah.
Awesome. And were there any memorable moments from the set that you can talk about? Maybe some fun stories, some nightmare stories?
Me and Ricky, so the girl who's singing with me on stage at some point during that moment between us trying to sing and sing back and forth with each other, those moments in that kind of North Vancouver club that we were in, that was probably my favorite moment. Just Ricky and me just looking back and forth, being like, okay, it looks like we're singing together. Okay, do we know? Are we singing together? It was, yeah, she's also wonderful. A lot of the people on that set were really, really great to us.
Awesome. And over the years, Incure has shared the stage with some pretty major bands, to name a few: Apocalyptica, Lacuna Coil, and Shinedown, as well as many great bands across Canada. Can you share some memorable tour stories or some tour nightmares?
Yeah, I got to be really careful here. A really cool moment for me was standing at my own merch booth, which I always like to sell my own merch and be there right after this. I like to run down to the merch booth and be there, mostly because I don't like packing up gear. But when I was there, the guitar player from Shinedown kind of just came out and was kind of dressed down, and he just grabbed a shirt and said, "Can I take this?" And I was like, yes, sir, take the shirt. And then I kind of went back into the venue to watch their set, and he was wearing the shirt on stage. So those kind of moments are really, really cool when your favorite bands or the other bands are really supportive like that. There's been some really crazy stuff on tour as well. I don't even know how much I could. We were on tour with Apocalyptica through nightmares. Let's see, through kind of the middle of Canada, we'll just say. And I think a bunch of people in that band got jumped at a club that we were at there, a big biker club, and got in a big fight.
Oh shit!
so that was like one of the biggest tour nightmares, where we walked into the venue the next day and the guys were like literally like limping, and they had to play the whole set sitting down because they had been in a bar brawl the night before. And so in doing that, we then got to stay backstage and watch those people from that brawl be brought into the back of that venue by other bikers, and then all be brought in to apologize to the band. And we're just there like teenagers being like, what's going on? And so that was probably the biggest like drama that I've ever had on tour with bands, but that doesn't ever really happen very often.
All right. Do you have any pre-show rituals?
Yeah, I do actually. It's not like I have, everyone like warms up or stretches or does those kind of things. It's more like what I don't do. I try not to drink or anything before I sing. I don't smoke at all before I sing. I like to be really relaxed and chill before I sing. It's just more of a mental headspace than anything. If I'm rushed or if I feel any anxiety at all because the van didn't show up late or this happened or that happened or gear or whatever it is, that's the worst place to try and do a show. So if I can, avoid all those things and just go into a show with a great mindset and just clear, that's my main goal.
Nice. And over years of touring and playing shows, do you still get anxious every show, or?
Yeah, it never goes away.
Yeah.
And when that does go away, that's probably when, maybe I should stop or look at some bigger problems or questions or challenges. But yeah, every time, it doesn't matter how big or how small the audience is, from 50 people to, we were playing Madison Square Gardens 7 days a week last year, and that's huge. But the same amount of nerves go into every single show because you're just as worried about, performing and giving it the best every single time. Yeah, it never goes away.
So I know you guys just released a new single back in May called Now or Never. It's a great track, by the way.
Thank you.
Is there any new Incura in the works during this pandemic?
So there is always new Incura in the works. We all write a lot. We will be releasing more tracks probably within the next couple of months here, one at a time. And then I'll be releasing tracks myself as well that I've recorded. So it's kind of just that. Now with Incura and with music and everything, with travel and with touring and with theater, you kind of just do it all. And when you have the time to record it and put it out and then you can just do that. So between now that COVID kind of made us all sit down for a bit, yeah, we're going to release some shit, and it's great because you have the time.
Nice. And I know you're based out of Lethbridge, right?
Yeah, so yeah, most of the time.
So how does the writing and recording process go, knowing that, most of the members of Incura are based out of Vancouver? How does the writing process work?
So every song is different. Every album is kind of different throughout our careers. I've only been based out of Lethbridge for about 2 years. And in that 2 years, I've probably spent about 6 months here. So most of the songs we've written for the last little while have all been together. I just travel to Vancouver. You spend a couple of weeks. So if you all get together, you have, say, 5 or 6 songs. You all bring your songs in there. You start playing them. The great thing about being a part is you can send riffs and you can record just like that. And even on our bigger records that we recorded back, say, 2012, say Gatlin would be in Canada and we needed a guitar riff for a song. We didn't need to fly Gatlin to LA to get the guitar riff, which was great. So it's different for everybody. But for us, yeah, it's just kind of taking main songs and main riffs and then getting together. But I think getting together in a room is the best way to do it.
And speaking of, recording music and your albums and whatnot, are there any plans to reissue or re-release any of the old material?
I know, right? I wish. So we've talked about releasing Sword, Souls, and Secrets and some of the things off there. That we were going to do a 2020 kind of thing, maybe for something to re-release that, or even put out a remastered, remixed version of our first record. But things kind of just stopped that, or kind of, how everything is right now, just didn't really go that well. So Yeah, we'll kind of. I think it's always in the works. We would love to release it. A lot of our old material is like stuck on YouTube by like some random dude who's like ripped it off, right? So,
Yeah. I mean, in all fairness, that's probably where I first heard it. But
yeah, totally, and that's why it's okay, right? Like that's why I'm okay with it. And it would just be nice sometimes to maybe throw it on something we could like, so everyone can Spotify it and it actually sounds good and it's not, yeah, that would be wonderful.
yeah, for sure. All right, so not only do you play in the band Incura, you also have quite the theater actor career, working on productions like Starlight, Rockers Gone Country, and the We Will Rock You Queen musical.
That's right.
So, what is it like being part of a major production, night after night, compared to maybe touring in a band?
hmm we'll say the first, a lot of the things is budget. Budget determines most things on tours, whether it be band or theater or, five of you getting in the back of your 15-passenger van and touring across the country.
Yeah.
So each tour is different depending on where you are in your career and things like that. I'll say with things like We Will Rock You, that's a huge, huge multi-million-dollar musical. So I was sleeping in like a sleeper bus, like a 12-person sleeper bus at that point. We would perform the show every single day of the week, sometimes twice a day.
Yeah.
That it's a grueling schedule, but it's theater. So in some respects, like somebody's there to help you with laundry. Someone's there to get you food if you need to. There's runners. Like there was that's the thing. Now with Incura or touring in bands, sometimes you just don't have those luxuries. I've done things from like finding Wi-Fi in the 24-hour McDonald's to like sleeping and hoping you can sleep in those McDonald's because you don't want to pay for the hotel again.
Yeah.
There are some big differences, though. That's touring. If you're in a theater company, you get to stay in maybe like one city for a month and perform. That's wonderful. Or if you're on ships, the same thing. You can like sing on the ship and then there's no drinking and driving. You just go down to your cabin and go to bed.
Yeah, for sure.
So we'll just say most of the time it's being in a band can be difficult. It's tough to tour in a band, and there's not a shower in every venue.
Yeah.
there's not hotels and money for hotels all the time every day. So just different.
Yeah, man, I kind of know where you're coming from with that. I'm actually a music videographer.
Cool.
And I did a couple tours with a band you've shared the stage with a few times, Ninja Spy.
Yes. That's cool. Yeah, my 15-passenger van is sitting in the back of my house right now. So, and I've taken that thing cross like country, up, down, LA, back, forth, and slept and partied and probably done terrible things in it. So it's still there.
Nice. I know Incura hasn't really toured much over the last couple of years or whatever. Do you guys have anything planned for when things kind of settle down? Are you planning out any touring? Maybe a Vancouver show?
Ooh. So yeah, the last thing shows we have played a couple of Vancouver shows. Mostly there for partners, like business partners and things like that, trying to see the band. So there's been very few big tours, and I've been on tour a lot alone, doing my own stuff and then doing this Queen stuff. And I would love more than anything to get back on the road with Incura all the time. I really would. But I'll say with all this going on right now, it doesn't look like we'll probably get on the road for a while. I definitely think in next year when things really start to maybe get back together. But traveling and doing it all and is going to be tough. So I think a lot of artists are going to start doing things like you're going to see a lot of smaller shows. You're going to see a lot of
live streams.
Even like broken down performances, like acoustic performances, or maybe two musicians in like a smaller 50-person venue. That kind of thing. I think you'll see more of that than getting like 6 prog musicians with 5 different bands and trying to get these big things going, as if, at least for now. So I think musicians and artists just kind of got to think of how you're going to scale down your show and still be able to make some cash, but still put a really wicked show on. And so if that could happen and I can get Incura or Gatlin and Jim or something to a couple of us to do that, that would be more feasible, I think.
If you could collaborate with any musician, living or dead, let's, you know what, I'll give you 5 musicians to choose from.
So, of course, Freddie Mercury would be probably almost number 1. Living or dead. A lot of the people I want to collaborate with, I'd say are passed away because you'll never get the chance, right?
Yeah, fair enough.
yeah, someone like Amy Winehouse, I think would be really, really great to do and collaborate with. Let's see, what else I collaborate with? Freddie Mercury, Amy Winehouse. Oh, some like old rockers, like Little Richard. I would love to do something with Little Richard. That would be really amazing. Just some like 50s and 60s rock. Super dig that. Really high. Speaking of high voices. Okay, Geddy Lee. Let's find some Canadians in here as well.
That's a great choice. Great choice.
So I think something like Geddy Lee would be really great, just because I feel like I look like Geddy Lee, and so we could do a weird thing about it. You know what I mean? Like I got the nose. I may as well try. So I think that's kind of, and of course, I would love to perform more with like theatrical, maybe like opera, someone like that, or something that's totally out of my genre. It would be neat to try and stretch myself in that direction. Whether like when Sepultura did a song with Pavarotti, when they did Roots with Pavarotti, that was one of my like favorite moments. And when I met Max Cavalera, that's the first thing I said. I was like, hey man, you remember Pavarotti? And so I think doing something like that would be really cool too.
Speaking of Rush, back to Geddy Lee, did you catch their final tour?
Oh my gosh, no, I did not catch their final tour. I was on tour, as what always happens when you're trying to do things. I was on tour at the time that was happening, so I didn't get to see it. I've never seen Rush live.
Oh, no.
I know, right?
Yeah, it's crazy, though. I was lucky enough to catch the last one. That was also my first Rush show. I was pretty young. It was amazing. They played almost 3 hours.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, 3 guys, 3 hours. Like, it's out of control. That's really, really cool.
Have you seen Soulfly live?
I have seen Soulfly live. Soulfly came to Vancouver. They played, what's it called? It's called Venue. Is it still called Venue now? It used to be called the Plaza. But yeah, so I saw them play there, which was really, really well. One of my favorite venues. We played there with a couple of great bands. Hail the Villain, who was back in the day one of the best metal bands that come out of Canada that never got the big footing.
I remember seeing them back at Uproar Fest in 2010.
Yes. So, yeah, Brian from Six Side Die, and he does a lot of stuff. Good friend of mine. He's incredible. That voice is incredible. Yeah, Hail the Villain was definitely one of the best bands to come out of there.
Are you a fan of Max Cavalera's Nail Bomb project?
I don't know honestly much about Nail Bomb. I've heard it a couple of times, but I haven't dived into it as big as as big as I'd want to. It's crazy with bands and with new music. I don't listen to a lot of music because I'm constantly writing or learning music for work and shows and all this stuff. So all the stuff I usually really tend to go into is like, the older Slipknot songs I listened to when I was younger. And all Max's stuff is all from Sepultura, right? Most of it. And Soulfly some, but so I'm just going back to that 14-year-old me, like, Pantera. Like, I've seen Pantera twice, and that was probably that changed my life. The God Hates Us All tour by Slayer changed my life. Like, Cannibal Corpse and Deicide changed my life. Like, anything like that. Gwar changed my life.
Gwar's a fun show.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like, why not? Why not just do more Gwar shows?
Yeah.
Yeah, theatrics, man.
And back to Sepultura and Nail Bomb. I was lucky enough to see Max Cavalera play at the Astoria.
What?
Nail Bomb performed their Point Blank album in its entirety at the Astoria.
That's wild.
I know, it was wall to wall. Like, you're pushed against the wall. There's no space to walk in there.
Oh, I don't even know how they could. Yeah, that's really crazy. That would have been, just out of control.
All right, man. I think I'm going to leave it at that. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me today.
Honestly, man, like I said, during all this, you coming on and talking to musicians, it helps us, just spread our word and spread what we're having going on in our music when everyone's kind of just sitting at home. So honestly, it helps us. So thank you so much, man.
Of course. Yeah, man. That was the goal going into this, and, maybe to entertain a few people that may be stuck at home and have nothing else better to do. So,
yeah. I'm one of them. No.
All right. Cool, man. I appreciate it.
Wicked. Good chatting with you, Jay. Thank you so much.